Jason,
Yes, Jeff?
let it never be said that when I am wrong about a thing, I won't say that I was wrong about a thing.
Oh, so I told you that was an Adam's apple.
Yes.
On that woman.
No, wait, no, not that. You were wrong
not
about
that?
You were wrong about that.
Oh.
No. She was just wearing a choker. There wasn't an Adam's apple.
I'm so disappointed.
But when A Link Between Worlds, Legend of Zelda, was originally announced, I was very much skeptical.
Yes, you were.
I was very skeptical.
Kind of a dick about it.
I was a little bit of a dick about it because the thing is that Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past, is my favorite Zelda game of all time.
Oh, Link to the Past.
Link to the Past.
Okay.
Yeah. Calm down.
Like, wait, what?
Now I know that there are a lot of people. Ocarina of Time obviously is their favorite of all time, but for me, back when I didn't have a Nintendo 64, Link to the Past, I don't have the nostalgia for Ocarina of Time, so Link to the Past is my favorite Zelda game.
Agreed.
I liked Zelda back when it had a little bit more actiony like gameplay, the top-down elements to it.
Yes.
OG Zelda, Link to the Past. So when Nintendo said we are going to be making a sequel essentially to Link to the Past with some of the stuff that Nintendo does where they're mining the nostalgia, right?
Yes.
I got really nervous because I'm like, so far you guys have just basically been doing the new Zelda stuff. You haven't messed with any of the old Zelda stuff.
Yeah.
And so you start seeing the trailers with the Link going into walls and walking around them. And I was like, I don't, this is, it's one of those things where, like, if this is done wrong, it could tarnish, essentially, or not, not specifically, but it could just be like, disappointing sequelitis.
Yeah.
When you get a disappointing
Sure.
sequel to something you absolutely love, and you're like, oh, fuck, man, this kind of messes that original one up a little bit for me, but not really. So it is with wonderful, wonderful pleasure that I am able to say, none of that happened. I was skeptical, but
Hooray!
hey, you know what? I was wrong. This game, holy shit, is it awesome.
Who are you?
So good. This is my favorite Zelda game in a long, 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 long time. Because the 3D Zeldas, I like them, but this is, like I said, spiritual successor to my favorite Zelda game of all time, and it totally does what it says on the box. So, Legend of Zelda: Link Between Worlds is the latest game in the Zelda franchise. It's on the 3DS, and it's so strange. It's so weird. It's not really a remake. It is a sequel.
Sure.
This is like time has passed. I think since Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. Zelda timelines are real.
Oh, yeah.
Wibbly wobbly.
Yeah,
anyway,
try putting that one together.
Yeah.
I know there are people out there who have attempted to do so, and I look at it, and that's just specious. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
Yeah. So you play as, well, let's see, it's this guy. He's got a green hat. He's got some yellow hair.
Link.
You
That's his
can
name.
type the name in, whatever you want it to be. So I always say like beef steak or whatever.
Beef steak.
But no, you play as Link, and you start the game out. You're the apprentice to the blacksmith, and he wants you to go deliver this sword to this dude at the castle. You go there, and wouldn't you know it, there's some shenanigans going down.
No.
You gotta use your sword, and then suddenly this crazy wizard called Yuga breaks in, and he's making people into paintings, and he fucking throws you in the wall, and just shit's all fucked up, and oh my god, now you gotta go to a bunch of dungeons and beat them, and you've got to...
Classic.
Yeah, you may have to rescue a princess. Her name might be Zelda. I can't be sure about that. I don't want to spoil anything for anybody. But this game is very interesting to me because it's half remake and half like update, right?
Okay.
Like you've got the overworld of Hyrule. Like walking around, it's got the village, Carrico Village, and the Witch's Hut, and the Zora Waterfalls, and the big lake in the bottom right-hand corner, and all that stuff. And the overworld to this game is almost identical, if not exactly identical, to A Link to the Past, which is very strange because you've got a brand new storyline and a brand new mission and stuff, and you're running around. But like, I already know where a lot of stuff is because I remember it from how many times I played A Link to the Past back in the old days.
That's pretty amazing.
Like,
that you remember that.
I played that game a lot of times. But then when they very early on, they give you this brand new mechanic, which is one of the big focuses of the game, where at any point in time you can flatten yourself into a 2D painting version of Link on the wall and move along the walls. And they use that mechanic just incredibly brilliantly to basically create brand new puzzles in the same world by, like, Link can't jump, right? But you can go up to the second level of this thing, go into the wall, and then work along the wall to the second level of this thing over here that you were never able to get to before. And it's just used in like that. When I first saw that, I thought, oh, this is going to be so gimmicky. But it's used in such a beautiful way to take that world. We're like, okay, so in Legend of Zelda, right, you'll run up to a boulder, okay?
Yeah.
It's like the boulder that you need the Titan mitts to lift up.
Sure.
Right? But now you can go into the wall, go around that boulder, and come out on the other side.
Clever.
So they're adding, like, these new ways to get around the same things that were blocking you in A Link to the Past, but you're using different types of powers to get around.
It's like in Back to the Future 2 when you're back in that original scene with the Enchantment Under the Sea dance.
Exactly. Except not even like that even a little bit.
Okay, well, let's try
So, yeah, and to add on top of that, they've got, you got your traditional Zelda staples, right? You got your boomerang, you got the bombs, you got the bow and arrow and stuff. And they've got at least 6 or so new things that you can use. They've got this this little, helicopter like thing that floats you up in the air. They've got like a sand wand that makes sand come out of the ground. And the coolest thing about this game is that very early on, and this is one of the things that I absolutely love about this, is that it seems like this game is actually cognizant of kind of trying to get at least a little bit away from every Zelda game being the same formula, right? You go here, you go to this temple, you go to the temple, you get the boomerang, you need the boomerang to beat the boss, and
Right.
you beat the boss.
Right.
Well, here, very early on in this game, this dude who dressed in a rabbit suit comes to your place. And he's like,
Sure, that happens.
Yeah, and he's like, hey, you don't seem to be spending much time in this house.
Is it the Donnie Darko rabbit?
Kind of the cute Nintendo version of the Donnie Darko rabbit. You don't spend a lot of time in this house. I'm going to set up a shop in here. Hope that's cool with you, bro. So when you go back to your house, he's got this shop. And the shop, from the first, it's like about an hour or 30 minutes into the game, has all of those items of the entire game there for sale. Boomerang, bombs, all that stuff. Right there, ready to go. The catch is that you can rent them or you can buy them.
Weird.
Now, if you rent an item from this guy, it costs like 30 to 50 rupees, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what happens is the item has these little rabbit ears on it when you use it. And if you die, then his little bird comes and repos all the shit that you've rent and takes it back to him.
What? Repo Bird?
Repo Bird comes and takes all your shit.
Dick.
Yeah. I think it was Emilio Estevez. I'm not entirely.
It was Emilio.
I think it was Emilio Estevez. So then, like, at a certain point, so you start out with that rental system, but then at a certain point, it becomes clear that he's like, or you can buy the bombs for 500 rupees, and then you have them forever. So there is no finding the bombs, and then you get them, hold them up, da-da-da-da,
Yeah.
Like, you either rent them, and then they go away if you die, or you buy them. So it's a gamble, and you do make enough money over the course of the game to be able to buy everything, because I eventually did.
There was someone at Nintendo going, microtransactions.
Well, you know what?
Microtransactions.
That's the greatest thing, is that there isn't. It's not like that. If that had been, I'd give this game a 0 right now and stop this review if it had been like, or if you want the bombs, you can give us $2 of real money and just buy them and be like, fuck you, Nintendo. We're done. We're
bastards.
Done. We're totally done.
Blew it up.
So when you start the game, this is not a spoiler, there are a bunch of temples you've got to go to, and a lot of times when you go to a temple, there'll be a little sign outside of the front of the temple showing what you need. It'll be like, here's the ice rod. Yo, bro, go get the ice rod if you're going to go into this temple.
That's a little more hand-holding than the old-school Zeldas would give you.
Yeah, but it's less hand-holding than, say, Skyward Sword.
Right, yeah.
So you really have to make that choice between, do you want to rent? And it's good because it gives the game a little bit of a little bit more urgency and stakes, right? Because you don't want to just, if you die, you're going to lose that shit.
Right. The
money's gone. So it actually adds an incentive to, like, get the fuck out of combat or try to go find some hearts or do whatever. So as is, like A Link to the Past, there are eventually, I think, 9 to 11 dungeons or something like that you end up going through the entire time. And the dungeons themselves are all I'm pretty sure that they've all been revamped. That the dungeons are not the same as they used to be, and they are a really excellent. Like they're all kind of puzzle based. So you got this item, right, and you need to get down to the third level, and you got to figure out how do I use this item to make a path to get to the third level. And they're all seem like they're tuned in a really awesome way where you can. If you just think about it for a while and kind of trial and error, they're hard enough so that you're not just going to walk in there and breeze through them, but they're not so hard that you're going to get hung up on it and need to go look for a fact.
Right.
You know, you just mess around a little bit and you're like, well, how do I... and then you totally get it. And then a lot of times because the bosses have also been reworked. And some of them seem like they weren't even like, some of the bosses in most of the Zelda games, they very much specifically require you to use the item from the dungeon to beat them. And some of them seemed like they had a little more option than that. Like you could just kind of run up and hack and slash on them or use other items to attempt to damage them. So all that stuff was great. There was... When you get into the second half of the game, and the second set of dungeons opens up, there were maybe a few more of those than I would have cared for, like maybe one too many. By the time I got to the last one, I was just like, all right, come on, man. I'm kind of ready to be getting to the end game of this by now. But then, it's funny because it's really hard to talk about this without talking about the specifics of the second half of the game. Those of you that have either played the game or played A Link to the Past will know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm going to try to be vague, though, so as not to spoil anything. They really do a lot more when you get to that point, about a third to halfway through the game, to beef up the story of what that part of the game is more than they did in A Link to the Past.
Okay.
Link to the Past kind of just had a thing. It's actually funny. In the beginning of the game, you go to the castle, right? And you meet with Princess Zelda, and she takes you to these paintings, and she's just like, I love looking at these paintings. And you look at them, and it's totally the story of A Link to the Past. Just like, boom, 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 you're done.
Too bad it's not the story of Splatterhouse.
This is my favorite. This is the one where the guy puts on the Jason mask.
Manhunt 2.
That's right. So then over the course of the game, you've also got a series of sub-quests, but they're very much like they were in A Link to the Past of you'll talk to somebody and they'll just be like, hey, if you ever come across this item, bring it back to me and I can use it to make your shield better or whatever. Or this person ran away with my boots. Can you go find them? And a lot of that stuff I found was completely optional. Like, specifically, there was a guy who had the dashing boots, right? And I got through like 90% of the game before, and I was kind of to the point where I was about to beat it, where I realized I hadn't gotten these boots. There was stuff in the world that I couldn't get to, but none of it was necessary to moving the plot along. So if you just want to mainline the plot, it's fine. You don't have to get the dash boots. It's not like they gate an area. Like there's so many ways to get into areas besides just the way that it was originally envisioned in A Link to the Past that you don't have to have literally everything to get everywhere in the game, which is cool. It's much less linear than OG Zelda, and I don't know if I'm giving the game too much credit for just not holding your
Skyward
hand.
Sword.
Right, exactly. Or, Twilight Princess or any of those. Like Zeldas have been very much the same, and that's why I love this game so much, is because it feels just very different and more of a throwback. And like I said, I like the more kind of arcade top-down style of Zeldas more than I like the over-the-shoulder Z-Target stuff, because it just feels a little bit more like a traditional type of game. The other thing that worried me, at least in the beginning, was the move from 2D to 3D. But I can say they have done a fucking fantastic job recreating the look of that 2D world in 3D. And in a lot of ways, it actually works better, because when you think about the way that the Link to the Past was looking down on it, there's a lot of kind of like simulated 3D there of the way that things were drawn, because it was a static viewpoint. Whereas here, those things are now actually 3D, and then if you turn up the 3D slider on the 3DS, they then pop out. 3D still kind of messes me up after a while, so I didn't use too much of it.
Turn it off.
Yeah, but it was never making me cross my eyes or anything like that. So I'm trying to think if there's anything really much else. I mean, the problem with reviewing Zelda games, Jason, is you're like, it's a Zelda game.
Yeah, it's been going on for 30 years now.
You guys know Zelda, right? You know what we're talking about here. Oh, I will say there is another interesting mechanic in the game that you get to about halfway through, where there is a big octopus type thing, and her children are hidden throughout the land. So you have to go out and find them. So you'll be walking around the map and you'll start hearing this little like meep, 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 meep noise.
Secret octopus.
Right. So you have to look around and lift up rocks and stuff, and you'll find these little octopus babies, and you get them and you bring them back. And for every, I think it's like 10 that you bring back, she'll actually let you
She gives you a tentacle job.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. It's really weird, you guys. It's very strange. No, she'll give you an upgrade to any of the items in the game. So you can have like the upgraded
That makes sense.
boomerang.
Yeah. You completely logical.
You can throw multiple boomerangs, which is weird. I've never had that in a Zelda game before. About
Neglectful octopus mom.
yeah. Octopus Mom really needs it.
Octomom. What?
Oh no.
Jeff said it. The Octomom is in this game.
Octomom is totally
ruined
in this game.
Zelda.
Oh man, what if Octomom and Octodad were somehow related? That would be a very strange.
I bet you anything
thing.
there's porn of that already.
Probably so. Outside of that, there's that collectible. Like I said, there are a bunch of things in the game that you can do that are completely optional, like upgrading swords and shields and armors and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You don't have to do them. They just make the game easier. There's a lot of incentive to kind of go through and do 100% completion, a lot of reasons to kind of check out everything that you can on every single screen to try to find everything that's in the game. Other than that, I mean, it's a Zelda game. I will tell you this, that like when I started playing it, I was like, oh, let's check out this new Zelda game. And within like 4 hours, I was just like, I have to finish this. Like I'd be watching something while my 3DS was charging, and I'd be like, no, I'm just going to plug it in, and I'm going to play this while I'm watching. I didn't watch like 2 movies while I was playing this because I was just like, I'm going to put on this movie I've never seen before. Fuck you, Zelda.
Fuck you, movie.
Yeah.
What do you give it?
Oh, man.
Are you going to say it?
I'm giving this game 5 stars.
What?
I love this game.
Da-na-na-na.
I fucking love this game. Like,
who are you?
As a Nintendo game, I love it. As a Zelda game, I love it. I think that this is okay. Sometimes Nintendo they will go and they will just mine your nostalgia, right? Mm-hmm. And they'll make another X game that is the same as,
Yep.
And this is not that. There's enough cleverness in there and enough like self-awareness of the fact that this is kind of a sequel to a previous game, enough ways of toying with that original formula in creative ways. Like I said, there's some parts of the game that maybe drag a little bit, but none of that. I mean, I guess it's one of those things with Nintendo where like when they do it right, man, they do it right.
Nice.
And it's some of the best games I've ever played. Like, if you have a 3DS and you are not just, like, completely opposed to Zelda, you'd be doing yourself a disservice by not picking this up because it is absolutely fantastic.
Suck it, haters. Jeff gave a 5-star review to a Zelda game.